Singapore sits almost exactly on the equator. Year-round heat, heavy rain, and dense greenery make it the kind of environment where mosquitoes should be everywhere. Dengue, Zika, and other mosquito-borne diseases exist in the region, and the main culprit, the Aedes aegypti mosquito, is well adapted to city life. And yet, you can walk through most of downtown Singapore, along the river, past fountains, rooftop pools, and hawker centers without being swarmed. Tourists remember the humidity, the food, the skyline, but very few remember the mosquitoes. So what is Singapore actually doing? Most people imagine the answer is simple: heavy chemical spraying, fogging entire neighborhoods at night. But in a dense, modern city, full of outdoor dining, playgrounds, and families, drenching every surface in harsh pesticide every day would cause more problems than it solves. Instead, Singapore built a 5-layer system. Each layer is quieter, more precise, and more invisible than you would expect. And one layer involves releasing millions of mosquitoes on purpose. Let's start with Layer 1. Layer 1 is not a chemical or a machine. It is law. Singapore made it an offense to let mosquitoes breed on your property. If inspectors find stagnant water where mosquitoes can lay eggs, the owner can be fined. That applies to homes, shops, construction sites, anyone, public or private. This sounds simple, but it changes behavior. Leaving a bucket of water in the yard, letting a roof gutter clog, ignoring a flower pot saucer full of rain. That is no longer just lazy housekeeping. It is a financial risk. By turning mosquito breeding into a punishable offense, Singapore quietly recruits millions of residents and businesses into its control system. Everyone has a reason to care about that plastic container sitting half full of water on the balcony. Law turns everyday habits into the first line of defense. That's Layer 1. Layer 2 is inspection and design. A law without enforcement is just a sentence on paper, so Singapore backs it with people. Officers from the environmental authorities carry out large numbers of inspections every year, especially in places where mosquitoes love to hide. Building sites, older housing, and areas that have had problems before. When they find breeding sites, they do not just treat the water and walk away. They issue notices, require fixes, and if needed, escalate penalties. Over time, this trains entire neighborhoods to spot and remove breeding spots on their own. At the same time, the city itself is built to avoid puddles. Drains are covered or angled so water keeps flowing. Surfaces are sloped so rainwater does not sit in random corners for the week or so a mosquito needs to grow from egg to adult. Construction rules and building codes bake no standing water into how the city grows. Public campaigns reinforce this at home. Simple reminders: overturn buckets, clear gutters, change water in vases, empty plant saucers, check that little tray under the flower pot. It is not high-tech, but it is constant. Law plus inspectors plus no puddle design. That is Layer 2. Layer 3 is surveillance. Singapore does not guess where mosquitoes are. It measures them. Across different neighborhoods, it deploys traps that collect mosquito eggs and adults. By counting and identifying what they catch, teams can see which species are present, how many there are, and whether numbers are rising in a particular area. This turns an invisible threat into visible data. If traps in one housing block start filling up faster than usual, that area gets special attention. More inspections, more community outreach, and, if required, more targeted control measures. Weather data, case numbers, and trap results can be combined to forecast risk. Instead of reacting only after people get sick, Singapore tries to predict where the next spike in mosquitoes, and thus dengue risk, will appear. Surveillance is not glamorous, but without it, every other step is just guesswork. That is Layer 3. Layer 4 is the part that sounds like science fiction. The mosquito factory. Hidden behind the calm streets and clean parks is a lab that breeds mosquitoes, on purpose. Specifically, it breeds male Aedes aegypti mosquitoes infected with a bacterium called Wolbachia. Wolbachia is naturally found in many insects, but the main dengue mosquito in Singapore does not carry it by default. When scientists infect male Aedes aegypti with Wolbachia and then release them into the city, something important happens. When these Wolbachia-carrying males mate with wild females that do not have the bacterium, the eggs those females lay simply do not hatch. The mating is successful, but the next generation never appears. Male mosquitoes do not bite. They do not suck blood. They do not spread disease. Their only job is to find females. By releasing large numbers of these modified males into neighborhoods, Singapore essentially floods the dating pool with dead-end partners. From the outside, residents just see small black insects in the air, the same as any other day. But on the genetic level, the local mosquito population is collapsing. Trials have shown that in areas where these Wolbachia males are released regularly, the population of the dangerous Aedes aegypti can drop dramatically. Fewer mosquitoes, fewer bites, fewer opportunities for dengue to spread. A program that breeds mosquitoes to get rid of mosquitoes. That is Layer 4. Layer 5 is targeted response when disease appears. Even with strict laws, inspections, data, and Wolbachia releases, dengue has not vanished. Some years, case numbers rise sharply, helped by weather, travel, and the biology of the virus itself. When a dengue case is confirmed, Singapore treats it like a spark landing in dry grass. Authorities mark out a zone around where the person lives or works, and move quickly in that area. They check houses, corridors, drains, and gardens for breeding sites. They remove larvae and remind residents to keep their surroundings dry and clean. Where necessary and appropriate, they deploy approved insecticides and larvicides in a very focused way. Instead of fogging entire districts every night, they concentrate on places where the data and the case patterns say the risk is highest. Residents in those zones receive alerts and guidance. Protect yourself with repellents. Use window screens. Eliminate standing water inside and outside your home. For a limited period, everyone in that zone is on higher alert, working together with inspectors to push the mosquito population down. This is not a perfect shield. Outbreaks still happen, and the climate remains ideal for mosquitoes. But the combination of rapid response and long-term prevention keeps the situation much more controlled than in many other tropical cities.